God, we take time to thank you for the bounty that we have before us. We hope that it will be nourishment for our bodies, and hopefully we'll be prepared for our travels as we go around several places in the world today. We ask that you bless all those individuals who are considering coming here, as well as those who might be considering leaving from this area. We ask a blessing upon all of them. This we ask in your Son's name. Amen. The first thing I want to do, I'm first going to tell you that we have two themes for today's talk. The first theme is going to be here in Wichita, and it is going to be a video. The video is a cooperative venture between Newman University's University Relations area and also from our religious community, primarily from the vocation area. And so that's one of the things you're going to see. Now, before we do this, I'm going to have a disclaimer, okay? There are people here who have probably viewed this video, even though it has just come off the press and was just recently okayed to come off of the press, and that's fine that they viewed it. I just want to say something because this is true of leadership teams for our religious community. Leadership teams for years have always recognized that they are asked to serve in an office for a period of time, and then somebody else comes in, and we move on to another group. And I think, this is what's one of the good things that we have done over the years is we've done planning. Today we call it all strategic planning. Earlier we called it futures planning, whatever it was. There were things that we planned for. I actually, along with a team of individuals, served in a leadership position at the end of the 90s. Prior to that, the group that was in, they had things that they were doing, and they shared with us as we came in, here are some things that we were planning and what we've been doing. Many of them we knew because we were part of the community. And I just want to indicate that we were in the middle of renovation of what we call the Wichita Center when the team that I was with came in to serve the sisters. And one of those things that had yet to be done, we had signed a contract with a person who was going to take a look at how do you renovate a chapel. And he was going to give us the latest ideas, etc. And then our team came in. And so even though a contract had been signed with him, we had not signed the contract to move ahead, okay? This might be part of where you're getting the thing that Sister Mary Kevin, who's going to be the star of this first part, the first theme, and what you're going to see is she's going to be telling you about some of those changes, but she's going to concentrate on the windows, two sets of windows, the stained windows at as you come into the chapel, the ones that deal with the covenant story, as well as the etched glass that you see over the reconciliation room. So she's going to be talking primarily about those as a reflection. That video is approximately 14 minutes long. It's just a tad short, okay? And I was only going to take that tad short, but I took a little longer because I could see you kind of walking around yet. All right, so with that, I just wanted you to know this is an ongoing process. And although it mentions my name, I want you to know this was certainly not Charlotte's baby, okay? I just want that to be understood. This is a process, and we're all involved in this kind of a process, okay? And certainly with Sister Mary Kevin currently being in the Philippines, I wasn't going to make a commotion over this. I said, it's done, it's done. There's nothing to change in regard to it. It's true, but there's also a little bit that maybe isn't true, depending upon what slant you want to take. It's just that I would have liked to have had that extra piece put in there, maybe. And maybe that's just me. I'm too much of a perfectionist. Okay? So with that, what you've got up here is that this is part of the second theme that we're going to have. This is talking about the international program for junior sisters, that's what they called it, and they're sisters that do not have final profession. We call it temporary profession here in the United States, but that's a name that we would recognize from years ago, that are in the Asian region of our religious congregation, okay? And that part, it says, is coordinated by Sister Mary Kevin and other members of the ASC Vocation and Initial Formation Team. And you're going to see how that is also. Those of the sisters that are here, you actually just had in our latest newsletter that comes out for our region some of the very pictures. You're going to see the pictures, not all of the story. Sister Mary Kevin provided me with a lot of things on which to build. She gave me a reflection on which to build some remarks. So with that in mind, we're going to begin, and we should be in good shape, okay? So with that, what we're going to go to right away is the first thing. We're going to go with Mary Kevin, but to the Wichita Center.
I'm Sister Mary Kevin. This coming year, in 2019, I will celebrate 70 years as an adorer. And it makes me very proud to follow Maria in her footsteps. When Sister Charlotte Lorba was our provincial, she became our provincial in 1996. She said, you know, sisters, we need to look at our chapel. And she said, the documents of Vatican II invite us to a different take with the understanding, the new in-depth understanding of the Paschal Mystery. Not only is it crucified, but it is risen, the Christ, the whole mystery. And we invited a woman named Clara Wing to do the windows. She in herself is in experience. When I am with her, I experience the presence of God because she's so in tune with her work, her ministry, the expression of her art. So she said, tell me about you. And so she had a little notepad. She made notes, went back to her pastor in Dallas and said, Father, tell me everything you know about covenant. And that's what she did. She birthed the windows out of covenant. And the pastor sent her to Scripture, the main covenants that are recorded in Scripture. So the first covenant she went to was the story of creation. And she exemplified that through the tree, beautiful tree of life in a garden. So that was the first covenant, God's self-gift of life to us. Then we move on to the next covenant, which is the story of the flood. And at the end of the flood, Noah came out of his ark with his family, a group of 8 people. And the story says, God told Noah, I will never destroy the earth like that again. And as a sign of my covenant to you, if you look inside every raindrop, you will pick up the rainbow. The rainbow is a sign that I will be faithful to you. I will love you always. You are mine. The next great covenant she found was in Genesis again, chapter 12, where God says to Abram, go where I tell you. And the fidelity of Abraham was rewarded in Genesis 15, where again God says, Abram, let's go for a walk. Look up at this sky. How many stars can you see in the sky? Start counting, buddy, because that's how many your descendants will be. So the next story talks about Moses, leading the people, freeing the people, doing these impossible things at God's bidding, because when God asks us to do something, we can do it. We can do it. So the leading out of Egypt, where the people were accompanied during the night, cloud by day, fire by night. Abram said, God is so good to us, let's give our best lamb. Let's give our best bull. Let's give our best whatever we have. And that was the beginning of blood sacrifices for God's people. The next great covenant, they're out in the desert. And this covenant was made with a gentleman named Moses. And God said to Moses, who led his people out of Egypt, I'm going to give them a little help. I'm going to give them 10 words. And if they live these 10 words, that's a perfect way to keep covenant with me. So he took Moses to the top of the mountain, and there were 2 slabs on which, the story goes, he writes the 10 commandments, the 10 words. So with that gift, people tried to live the 10 words, obeying parents, honoring one another, honoring God, not stealing, all of those that we know today as the 10 Commandments. So the blood sacrifices from Moses' time on continued until we come to the heart of the story. All of these stories we've told up to this point are invitations. God never forces us. God always invites us and then awaits whatever our response will be. The same was true for this little girl. She was about 14, I would say. Her name was Maria. And the invitation was, we, the Trinity, I, God, have this plan. My people have been trying to live the 10 words faithfully, but I have a greater gift. I am going to give them 1 word. But to fulfill this plan, I need a mother. And I was in the process of inviting you, Mary. Clara told us that when her experience has been people accuse Catholics of adoring Mary. She said, we don't adore Mary, we adore Christ. And to show that, she puts Mary's head to the side and she's saying, look, he who is mighty has done things that are great in me. She, like us, it's the wonder of being called, being empowered by God. So the Word is made flesh. When Clara was explaining her masterpiece, we were all sitting out around here. And I said, there's just one little drop of blood left here and no more. And she said, right, because that represents Jesus' self-gift. Once that gift is given, there is no more need for blood sacrifice. All is forgiven, all is healed, all is made whole. This size right here was the size of the original Ark of the Covenant, in which were kept the 10 words of God, the 10 Commandments. In this new Ark, Mary is the woman of the new covenant, is the one word, Jesus the Christ. And this, as you recall, above the ark on each side were the angels, the cherubim, and those represents their wings. And Clara had us touch the windows on these 2 areas. And if you notice, they're open. There's slits in them. That's what people say, but they're open. And she said, exactly, because this covenant is open to all people. And this new covenant is for everybody. Come one, come all. And we celebrate that new covenant in here daily with the Eucharist at 5 o'clock. This middle frame, the covenant God made with Mary, is from the last book of the Bible, the book of Revelation, where it says, a woman clothed with the sun, and I like to say S-O-N. The moon under her feet, and that's her claim to fame there. Do whatever he tells you. And on her head, a crown of 12 stars. She took 12 of the raindrops and made a stylized crown for Mary. When Jesus was about to die, the scripture in John 19 says, Jesus handed over his spirit, and Clara shows this through this gold and white, and we say, it says in scripture, out of his heart came blood and water. And that represents, again, symbolically, the sacraments, the blood, the Eucharist, the body and blood of Christ, and the water of baptism. The signs, because it's too big to say, God lives in every one of us. God has chosen us. He is our Father, our Mother, our source. And this gold, white, yellow movement represents the Spirit. All the energy of God, the life of God, are again in the same symbols that she used over there, the stars, the power signs, all around the outside of the story of covenant is a red trim. That represents your total self. When God makes covenant with us and invites us to make covenant with God, it's always an invitation. You can't say, well, you can have this much of me, God, my little finger, or maybe my hand. It's all. Blood represents all. I give you all, just like you gave all to me. When our sisters die, the community assembles in chapel. They bring the body here. It's almost like a farewell before a hello to Maria. And one of us goes up to the door and does this. And from inside, the sisters say, welcome home, sister. Sometimes we, as adorers, do not live our covenant as faithfully as we want. So we celebrate that over here in our reconciliation room. Clara Wing is responsible for this art. She picked up the wonderful flow of the Kansas wind when everything goes the same direction. Here's this sea of gold. Well, the sea of gold is not always so beautiful. You know, there's parts of me that are stubborn and says, I don't want to serve her. No, forget it. So those kinds of weeds that need to be pulled out, we celebrate that return to covenant living more fully. We celebrate it in here. The old confessionals used to be dark. This is full of light, and it has a very special feature. If you're one of our dear housekeeping staff who does such a wonderful job for us, if you're going to have an accident as you clean, this is the best place to have it. One of them accidentally hit the window and did this. I think it's perfect. I hope we never fix it, because we're all a little bit cracked, aren't we? That's our story. We're not perfect. God is perfect. The wonderful thing about this confessional, it's not dark, and everything in here is living, because covenant renewal is about life. We adorers are called to live the gospel. This is my commandment, that you love each other. I'm usually the one that has been privileged to do the windows, so I make sure they know the story of the windows. They look nice just to look at them, but when you know what's behind them, oh, that's profound. So everyone who comes, it has been grace for them.
I'm looking out at the people who kind of helped put this together tech-wise and making sure I'm punching the right buttons. I just wanted to make one additional comment, and that is in relation to, as I said, this was done by Sister Mary Kevin. She has done this for a number of years now, and they asked her if she would be willing to actually go through this and put it into a video. That's how this kind of came to be. And also to tell you that I used to do a tour. As employees would come here, when I did orientation, I would take the people down to the center and I would do that tour, and I would show video or whatever we were having at that particular time. It just got to be too much for me, and it took too much time, and as there were more expectations of things I was supposed to do during mine, that's what happened. So that got dropped, and now we're going to be able to have that here at Newman so that we can use it, not necessarily during that orientation, but in other ways. And as I look around, there are actually some people that are in this room who served on that committee, who actually helped to hire Clara Wing. There's no question. She was one of the grace moments for us. There's no question. Now we're going to move to the second one, and we're now going to do our first trip. I have to tell you that we have an expert on the Philippines here, Jason Poole, and I called him a couple of days ago, and I told him I needed to know how to pronounce this one city. Now, if you want to know why he's such an expert, you will have to ask him yourself, okay? But anyway, just wanted you to know that. And we're going to start. This second theme is kind of all related together, and it's in response to a question that many ASCs are asked. For years, people turn, at least they ask me, and I know they ask other members too, are you getting any new vocations? So what happens when everybody retires or you die off? Well, that's a question we do ask. Not only do you ask, but we ask. And so, yes, we are concerned, but we're positive. We're making steps. And so, this talk, as well as the talk in April, is going to tell you about some of the things that we are doing and some of the new initiatives that we're taking, so that you would know that. Okay. I wanted, when I knew I was going to have this video, I said, wouldn't it be nice if we could then go, like we went to Crown Point for some of you that were here last time, and you met Sister Maureen Farrar, and we did that by Zoom. Well, I wanted to do the same thing. Well, you can't do Zoom with the people in the Philippines at noon hour here, okay? They're sleeping, okay? And I didn't think that that was going to go over real big, all right? So what I did is I contacted Sister Mary Kevin and said, can you help me out? Can you provide me with a short synopsis of this program? Give your personal reflections, okay? As well as she accompanied with this, that came separately, some of the slides that the women who are a part of this program created. So some of the sisters have just recently in our newsletter seen those pictures. The one thing you didn't see is some of all these personal reflections, okay? So hopefully I will do it justice to her remarks, and we're going to just stay with this slide because I think it's better if you see all the slides at one time. It makes better sense, okay? It was originally set up for ASCs from both India and Vietnam who were preparing for final profession of vows. That's the purpose. The USA region was invited by the Asian region to share via Skype, one that's been around a while, but this is the one that they chose to use and works the best for us. To share via Skype on topics pertinent to formation and final vow preparation. So monthly, a team of 4 from the United States, and you'll see pictures of them, and you'll see their names, would Skype on consecrated religious life issues. Sister Mary Kevin Rooney serves as the point person, doing theological reflection in between the Skype weeks, with the goal being to take the learnings and move them into concrete daily practice. Now, this was a very creative dream that was curtailed by the ASCs from India. Why? Well, it was unfortunate, but they were unable to receive the visas needed. They could get a visa to be there for a short time, but not for the length of time that they would need to remain to be a part of this program. So I don't want you to think that they couldn't come at all. In fact, you're going to see a sister from India, but she's not one of the participants of the program. I got to figure out where I am. Okay, sorry. So the journey of the 2 Vietnamese sisters that you're going to be seeing has been incredible. As they perceived a call to religious life, so they themselves felt like they were being called to religious life, they talked to some of the missionaries of the Precious Blood, the men who lived in Vietnam, and they encouraged the women to consider entering the doors of the blood of Christ, because theirs was the closest mission to Vietnam. They were in Korea. So, here are these 2 women. They are off to Korea to do what? Learn Korean. To be part of the initial formation. I knew this was going to, when I lose a hand, program. And that would be a total of 6 years. So the first 2 years, they're really learning the language and then entering into the program. The Philippine invitation comes. So now they're off to Quezon City to learn English for 2 years in order to participate in this new program. I hope you're counting the years. We're going to stop now, and you're going to meet them, and you're going to meet those who are the instructors. This is their new home, so we're now in Quezon City, and this is just pictures of, this is the 2 women themselves made this show, okay? They're the ones who put these slides together that you're seeing. I'm not going to tell you their names. What I did is I went out to our poster that's on the walls around Newman and looked to see which one had the glasses and which one didn't. And then I kept seeing there was a 3rd one. And then I learned, Charlotte, wake up. That's somebody that's a Korean sister who is also in our formation program. So that's why she didn't go. These are the beginning of the Skype sessions. You see that it actually started, they did some things like to test it and that, but the very first one was on April the 24th of this past year, or this year. And the first one is by Joan Hornick. And Joan, here in the United States, is the director of our novitiate. So she's at our central novitiate, which is located near St. Louis. Okay, so she's the one running it, and she was the first one. And there you can see in the bottom 2, Mary Kevin with the 2 sisters that are preparing to make their final profession. Here's another instructor, Sister Maria Hughes. Now, Sister Maria Hughes was our former novice director. She has been serving in leadership. She served for the last 6 years and just began another 6-year term, okay? Currently, she happens to be in Rome, Italy, because she's meeting about one of the other things I'm going to be talking about in a moment. But she's giving instructions. And don't worry if you can't read every little thing that's up there, okay? Just so you get the idea of who these people are. And by the way, they didn't just do this one time. They basically did this several times. And like they would do it like every month, one of them would speak, and then if there's a new person, we'll have a slide on them. Here's the third one, Sister Regina Siegfried, and she also made presentations. And Sister Regina helps out for our Central Novitiate program here in the United States, and has given instructions, but she also has been a member of the program that is for a collaborative novitiate program that is in the St. Louis area for other congregations also. She teaches in part of that. So well-respected individual, writes for numerous magazines, etc. Now, this is one that shows you, what does Mary Kevin do? You know, is she the chief bottle washer, or what is this? No, she's actually holding this all together. She does theological reflection with them that is set up by the things that have been there, and she carries it out because she also herself is a spiritual director and is known for that. So this is what they would do, and sometimes it was a practical. She was in the room with them. She wasn't via Skype on a computer screen. Then we added, during June, the other members. So now we've got the 4 identified from here in the United States. Barbara Jean Franklin. Now Barbara Jean has served as the head of the first provincial of when we became a United States province and now region. And so she was in leadership role. She currently is on our vocation team. She has been on it for several years now. Also, she is the one of the individuals who's on the leadership team for the Ruma House, the Ruma Center, that's in just about 45 minutes from St. Louis. And so you're going to have more than a picture of her. In fact, there's 4. They must have really liked her because they sent a bunch of her. But the other thing I wanted to tell you is this. She actually gave 2 talks during that month. She had actually 2 topics, and they're identified there. And I got that information from her. And you can kind of see now, in the picture at the bottom there, that's the guest sister that was there from India. At that point, they were still thinking it was going to be able to be possible, that they would be able to come. But as I said, she was able to be there for a short time, but that was all. She was not, though, she was one of the sisters, but not one of the ones who was supposed to be in the program. And another one of Barbara Jean. It just wanted to show you kind of the screens, what they would have seen, etc. Yeah, that's what they say, showing you what they saw on the screen. Okay, the next one, this is a picture of the individuals that were there in the Philippines, and it shows the 2 sisters from Vietnam, Sister Mary Kevin, and several members from our group, as well as priests from that area too. So you can see all of them.
Those are professed daughters?
Yes, right. And so this one now, this is the local bishop. And they are there. There is another man to his right, and that is a priest of the Missionaries of the Precious Blood who studied here in the United States and lived with the Adores. And Matthew, wasn't he there when you were living over there for a while?
I never got to meet him, but maybe.
But Brother Dominic, that then became a priest. I thought it had been, but anyway, the 2 women and the individual next to the bishop on his left side is the new person in charge in the Philippines. That's the sister that is in charge of the Philippines group. And of course, Mary Kevin. And this time, a little windblown, or it seems that way. And they're also celebrating one of the first saints from the Philippines, San Lorenzo. And so that's what they're there doing. Now, Brother Dominic, we called him Brother Dominic, he's now Father Dominic, and I do have that correctly there. He joins them, and he takes, because all they've seen is this house, this place, and computer screens, okay? I don't want you to think that they weren't involved in the life, but still they hadn't done any sightseeing. So he purposely said, we're going to travel. And they decide to go to Manila. So that's what we're going to do. And I can't tell you what everything is here because she really didn't identify it. And I know Jason probably could, but we're not going to make him be put on the spot. Do you know what that is, though? That bell? That's the only one that I questioned. Have you ever seen that?
I have not been there.
Okay, all right. He's going in a few days, by the way. It's got to be down underneath 40 now, isn't it?
36.
36, okay. And so this is some pictures, and they just sit, it's important for them who they're standing by. So they just switch places in some of these. You're going to think it's the same picture. It's not. They've moved. I kept studying them to see what the heck was the difference. Anyway, and the same thing here. They each wanted an individual picture. And there is a difference between those two. And this is my guess. These are some of the women that might be interested in considering becoming one of the adorers in time in the Philippines. So they're there with them. And that's the end of this. Just click it again, or not, just leave it? Leave it, okay, I'll put that down. Now, on the 21st of December, coming up, these two women are going to return to Vietnam. They're going to start a mission there. So in other words, they're going to be involved with setting up the mission. Now, we already have a sister who was from Vietnam, who was a member of the U.S. region. And she's been over there. So they're going to now come, and we're going to start the mission. Where the story goes from there is only God's dream and their initiative. Here are some of the points that Mary Kevin considers to be the high points of this. The richness of living with Vietnamese, Philippine, and American cultures, and coming to appreciate the diversity of different realities. None better than the other, just different. Indian culture would have only enhanced the richness. Being brought face to face with one's limitations, which can be a great blessing in humility. When you lack what you are so accustomed to, it can be a precious learning experience. Innumerable opportunities for patience and understanding on a new level. Now, Mary Kevin is a typical American. Her low points are more than her high points, but they're small. But I will say that they are longer. She reflects on this, and she's really talking about those two women from Vietnam. Living with the same person for 8 years straight, and then to add another 9 months can be very limiting. Don't you think it's interesting that it's 9 months? And my reason being that it's this 9-month program that they've been in the Philippines to birth this mission in Vietnam. But these two women, they've spent a lot of months studying languages. That's a blessing for sure, but it also can be limiting. The lack of other temporary professors to enrich the dominant culture made it a real challenge at times. Because it was a Philippine culture, yet they were not really participating in the program. The heat and humidity was constant. I don't know if all of them suffered, but Mary Kevin honestly did. A lack of sufficient understanding of the language can make the program's possibilities a huge burden, and frustration constrain all participants. Expectations that flow from different cultures and go with terminology like teacher, superior, elder, companion, terms that, how do you get those translated to understand the nuances of a culture? Sometimes it's something that's become foreign to some of us, yet it's still being used in other parts of the world. Some do not do well on a total vegetarian diet. Mary Kevin did have a few issues with this. Now, you might say there weren't too many low points. I told you they were a little different. Now, we are going on, and good, well, it's been black up there, that's fine. Where do we go next? Mary Kevin will be coming back on the 27th of December. And by the way, she has already been in, I think, Cameron, am I correct? Has she written you at all? A little bit, okay. So she's the person that he's going to be, if you remember some of you that were here for the talk in September, he's the one that has been paired with Mary Kevin. And I'm sure he's going to have a lot of things to enjoy, as well as she will enjoy him, because he's new to us also. Now we're going to Rome. Rome became the location for the International Central Novitiate, which will welcome novices in November of 2019. So here's what I want to explain. There has been a team, a group of a commission that have been working on this, and what they had done is that they've decided between Rome and the United States, and I think it was supposed to be Chicago, if I'm not mistaken, that was what they thought of, if it was going to be here in the United States. It was decided that it was going to be in Rome. The language that it will be delivered in will be English. Okay, why are we doing this? Well, maybe I better give you this other first. In Rome right now are 5 sisters who have been chosen to be a part of this Central Novitiate community. So they're there already, but not until of November of 2019. So a year from now, they will welcome novices from around the world wherever adorers have novices. They'll be coming there, okay? There are 5, and so they're spending a year in preparation for this to take place. At first, they have been living at our central headquarters in Rome. That's where they are right now, the 5 of them. They are from these countries: Croatia, Tanzania, Italy, the United States, and India. Yes, I know their names, but I thought you're not going to remember them anyway. So it's just for you to know they're coming from all countries. Remember, they all have to speak English. Okay? Almost all the instruction and discussion will be in English. Will everything? Of course not. How are you supposed to take somebody whose language, you know good and well, they're going to have to be talking to each other themselves, but the instructions will be in English. The future home for the novitiate is receiving some almost completed renovations. And that particular house actually was a formation house for Italy. And what's great about it is located on one of the largest arteries. If you picture Rome as a wheel and the spokes, one of those spokes is Nomentana, a really big street. That's where this house is. So that's where this central house, how many will there be? I don't know. I can ask, but you know, how do we know it's a year from now? Are there going to be people ready, etc.? I would venture to say we could be having anywhere from 6 to 10. That's a guess. Anybody, Mary Catherine, do you happen to know if there's any more than that?
No, they're just gathering the data right now.
Okay, so basically that's kind of a gut level. We'll see in regard to it. Why are we doing this? Well, we're pooling our personnel that is trained in formation initiatives. If we would have to have a whole team to work with 1 or 2 people, that's where we're trying to do something new and giving them a rich experience. Are there individuals who are envious and said, oh, I didn't get that? Yeah, we're human. You know, I think back at how my formation was. I don't know. Some days I think I turned out okay, and there's days I say, whoo, Charlotte, you're half-baked. Now, we're going to come back, and we're going to go back to the banks of the Mississippi near Belleville, Illinois, which is where our Central Novitiate currently is housed. We have been sending individuals to a central novitiate there for a number of years. This year, we have one individual, some of you know her, she was here for a couple of years, Sarah Harburg. I'm saying her name wrong. Harbach. Okay, she's there, but there is a sister who is participating in Bolivia. We are trying to get her to get a visa so that she can be here as a full-time participant. Same kind of issue. I don't want you to picture that she's not participating in some of this. It's just having to be done through technology or digital, okay? If you understand, okay? And currently, that would be Joan Hornick, who is working with this. She has a team of individuals who are out doing other things that periodically help out in this. I actually will be giving a couple of talks to the group. I've been doing this for the last couple of years, and so I'll help out in this again. How will they connect me with Bolivia? I don't know, okay? And hopefully she's here by then, so I don't have to be concerned. And mine is not till March. Okay. And by the way, we have done everything we can. We've crossed our T's and dotted our I's, as our lawyers have told us what to do. There have been individuals, political individuals that have been involved in this, so we're doing everything we can. And I will tell you this, we all believe in the power of prayer, so it's going to happen. And these are all new initiatives that are going to enrich our new members, as well as enrich each of us. Okay, I went a little over. I promised you 5 minutes earlier. Does anybody have a burning question? If so, you can come and see me. But thank you very much.